I asked you guys if you had any questions about what it's like to be a lewdtuber slash lewd content creator, and it turns out some of you actually did have questions, and I'm here to answer them. Let's go. This question comes from eBoy40 over on Fansly. Yes, I'm very curious how you got started and any advice on a budget. I'm a PNG tuber, sort of, waiting on a new laptop to start, and I love your content. It inspires me to look into lewdtubing too, but I'm just not sure how to navigate with a budget. I want to start off by saying thank you. Glad to know you like my content, and also glad to know I've inspired someone to try this crazy, weird, strange little career path. So I've got a lot to say about this, so prepare yourself. To kind of answer your question, I was just very lucky to have a very patient girlfriend who is an artist. She drew and designed my characters for me. She even made this model that I'm currently using right now. Whoa. Whoa. But if you don't happen to be friends with an artist that's cool with making stuff for you basically free, and I'm not saying you should just befriend artists to get free art from them, that's kind of fucked up, and you want to stay on a budget, you're gonna have a bit of a tough time. But with some elbow grease, you know, a little creativity, a little work, a little effort, a little bit of learning, you can put something together. Basically, your options are either learn how to make everything yourself, including art, video and audio editing, or find artists that are offering their services for a relatively low cost. Luckily, there's tons of free tutorials, resources, and tools you can use to create your character or model, especially if your character is human, human-like. If your character is a furry like mine are, it's going to be a little bit harder. Just a little bit harder. You can use Koikatsu Party, particularly the modded version. That's what I used to use for taking lewd pics and videos, though there is a bit of a learning curve, and it's going to take some patience at times. It can be a little janky. But you can do animating as well, animation on that. But again, it's gonna take a bit of learning, a little bit of time and effort. There's a program called PNG Plus you can use to somewhat animate your PNG tuber. You can get that for free on Steam, as far as I'm aware. There's plenty of free art programs as well if you want to try your hand at drawing and designing your character. But again, that's gonna take a lot of skill and effort. What you could also do is try to find adoptables. So an adoptable is basically a character design that you can buy and then use for whatever you want. Plenty of artists offer this. Basically, you just find a character design that you vibe with, that you like, and you buy it, and then you can use it. Of course, each artist may have their own guidelines or restrictions on how to use that character design, but yeah, here's a few artists that I know that are offering adoptables right now. Feel free to check them out. But I think first and foremost, you should just try to focus on making good content regardless of what your character model looks like. Because you could have a character model that's like thousands of dollars and it looks really nice, but if your content is boring, no one's going to care. Just being real here. Even if you make good content, it's going to take some time to build up an audience. With me, I've been doing this stuff for a long time. Many years. I've only just now started to be able to do this kind of part-time, so just keep that in mind. It may take a while for you to find success, especially if you are doing this on the side like I have been. Basically, what you want to focus on is what you can make with what you have now. Whatever skills you have, whatever tools and resources you have, try to make what you can with that. In the game dev world, they call this keeping within scope. You don't want to try to make stuff that's too out of your league, out of your scope, right? You should try to start small and work your way up, especially if you're, brand new to this stuff. Try not to dump hundreds and thousands of dollars in art and assets and software, just for you to find out you don't really like doing it, because that's what should come first. If you're enjoying what you're making and you're passionate about what you're making, it's gonna show through your work. Probably. I would honestly recommend watching Ludwig's video. I asked 100 streamers how to be successful. It's not really about VTubing in particular, but he's got a lot of useful tips and advice on how to go about getting into the right mindset for streaming and making content in general that I think can still be applied. I may have yapped for a little bit there, but hopefully I answered your question. If not, feel free to hit me up or leave a comment below. Next question comes from Navar. Do you ever feel limited in the content you can create, or do you feel like you have more creative freedom? In some ways, yes, and in some ways, no. Particularly with Fansly, there's certain types of content I wish I could make, namely stuff to do with hypnosis, just because I think the scenarios I have in mind for that would be fun to make. Issue is, according to Fansly's TOS, that's a no-go. So there's also the fact that I can't do a really feminine voice, at least not yet. So I haven't been able to make more content around Kuro, this character here that you're looking at right now. That's also why I got Shiro as a VR model first before Kuro, since I figured it'd make more sense for me to use a male slash femboy model because of my voice. If I could do a more feminine sounding voice, I'd for sure make more adult content featuring Kuro. But for now, I've been sticking with Shiro for that. Aside from all that, other things that limit me are budget, time, skill, connections. Admittedly, it's mostly not having enough money and time that's holding me back. So I try my best to just make do with the skills, tools, and resources I have now. I've had to scale down or just abandon the ideas I've had over the years because I just still don't, have the skills or resources. I've had an idea to make a lewd visual novel for some time, but I've kind of had to drop that for now in favor of working on a more serious attempt at making a visual novel. Something that I can make and be like really proud of. Anyways, I also feel like I have quite a bit of artistic freedom since making adult content just comes kind of naturally to me. Just naturally a spicy, imaginative fella. Anonymous asks, any favorite type of animation, image, or just that inspired you to do this type of work? And have you tried 2D artwork before? To answer your first question, I would say no, not particularly. Though it could be argued that it all started with My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, since I used to write fan fictions with that material for commissions. And that led me to making erotic fictions for my characters. And for the second part of your question, for sure, I used to draw in sketchbooks in high school, back when I was a edgy, cringy teen, you know those days. I was actually seeing slow improvement over time, and I think if I stuck with it, I'd get even better at drawing. Problem is that now I just don't tend to have the patience for it. Like, it just kind of frustrates me to try to make what I see in my head, and then I just can't. I know that's kind of how it works with any skill. You start out making trash until you slowly get better, but I don't know, drawing is just different for me. I only did it back then because I had frustrations and I was confused about my life. When I had free time at school, or even when I didn't have free time, that's when I drew. Now I'm able to express myself in other ways, so I haven't needed to draw to do so since then, but I have tried to draw every now and then for fun. Years ago, I was trying to make stuff to sell on Redbubble, and I made this sticker design that was just an ass in striped panties. I only sold one, and it was to a friend, so will it pick up drawing again in the future? Who knows? Next question comes from Anonymous as well. What is a nickname or baby name that made you genuinely uncomfortable? And when I first read this question, I thought they were literally just asking like, what baby names do I not like? But now I understand. Generally, no, I'm kind of fine with any nickname. Maybe just like a nickname that, or a baby name that doesn't really make sense for me. Like calling me mommy. I don't think I'm mommy material. I barely think I'm daddy material, but I mean, you do you, I guess. Another question, does your sleep schedule tend to be all over the place? If you asked me this a few years ago, I would have said absolutely yes. Just about a year ago, I was working full-time and I would do my fancy stuff on the side kind of whenever I could. And my schedule for that wasn't always consistent. A lot of times I'd be working at 5 a.m., but then sometimes I'd be working at nights, and it would just screw me up. Nowadays, my sleep schedule is somewhat consistent. I've been trying to at least get up like around 8, maybe earlier, and then going to bed around midnight to 2 a.m., give or take. But I think in our line of work, I think our sleep schedules vary a lot. Another question, what's the most difficult part of being a lewd content creator? It's hard to pick just one aspect that's difficult, since there's quite a lot of things that are difficult that some people may not even realize. Being a lewdtuber, or even just a content creator in general, means you have to learn a lot of different skills, from running a business, marketing, understanding your audience, and depending on what type of content you want to make, you'll also have to learn audio and video editing, graphic design, writing, how to make connections, the list goes on. But having said all of that, I think right now I have difficulty in sticking with a somewhat consistent streaming schedule and making connections. I have been kind of working on and improving myself in both of these areas lately. For instance, I have started making a stream schedule that I post at the start of each week, and I just recently did a big lewd stream with some other creators that went really well. We have another question. Where did you come up with the idea of being a lewdtuber? / what inspired you to become a lewdtuber? Well, believe it or not, way back in the day, I was streaming on Twitch every now and again before VTubing was even a thing. I ain't old, goddammit. I ain't old! So I was originally inspired by some of the early creators like Kizuna Ai, and Project Melody, but then VTubing started to blow up, becoming more and more popular to the point where you didn't need to spend more $1 billion to have a working model. And my girlfriend was interested in learning how to make a model for herself, but kind of used my character as a sort of learning experience. And thus, I was born. Fast forward a few years, I was posting stuff like erotica, audio, and pick some videos using modded Koikatsu Party when I saw people using lewd models they controlled in VR. And I was like, wait, I have a VR headset, maybe I could do that. And then after a lot of work, a lot of money saving, and a lot of time, I eventually got my Shiro VR model, which I still use today. Is there anything you would love to say to someone who wants to be a lewdtuber/creator? I would say, stay away, don't do it, don't do it, no! My advice would be, just make sure to do a lot of research. Please try to understand what you're going to be getting yourself into. Some people are going to see what we do and think we just shake our butts and get paid. Okay, some people do, but that's like the top 1 to 2%. The majority don't make much at all. It took me a few years of constant posting to start making anything, and I still think I'm not even that successful. Again, it can take a lot of work to make even just one piece of content. Like this video that you're watching right now has taken me like half a day to record and edit, not even counting the time it'll take to render, and then the amount of time it's going to take to make the thumbnail and title for this video. And then I gotta spend time posting it everywhere, like, oh my god. And if you plan to also post lewd content of your actual self, be prepared for rude comments. I mean, I guess I don't really have to say that. It's the internet, there's rude people everywhere. But sometimes rude comments about how you look can affect you more than you may think. So again, if you're considering becoming a lewd creator, understand that it's going to be a lot of work and you may not see profits for years. If you're not going to start off doing this for fun, maybe consider doing something else. Well, that's all the questions I got. Thank you. Hope I was able to answer your questions well enough. And again, if not, feel free to leave a question down below in the comments and I'll try to answer there. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you have a day. Goodbye. Get the hell out of here. Actually, just kidding. Subscribe and like the video, please. And then leave. All right. Then leave. Okay, leave. Go. I said go.